After over 200 days, the Overwatch League offseason is finally over, and we have some strong teams facing off against each other in some really exciting matches. Who can come out on top? Let's see. This is also kind of based off the assumption that the Genji Doom meta is going to be the dominant meta. First matchup is going to be the Los Angeles Gladiators versus the New York Excelsior. Really spicy first matchup, honestly. New York is trying to shake off the offseason doubt by having a strong showing against a top team, whereas the Gladiators are trying to prove that their DPS line is still elite. Who comes out on top here? I'm going to say the Gladiators, and I don't think it'll be that close. I think Reiner versus Kallen will be close, but I think Reiner will come out on the Doom Fist meta, or Space will probably be better as Doom, as it seems to be played by off-tanks. And Kevster Az and Yaki Flora are about the same on Soldier 76 and Genji comp, but Myunbong on the Lucio will hurt a lot, especially compared to Funny Astro. I'm honestly not expecting much from the squad off of the Tracer. I don't think Yaki can carry that hard off of her. But the real factor in this match is the issues New York have been having. I really expect them to start off weak, but they'll likely come in and be disorganized, and I'm very worried about them. And I'll stop bragging on New York now, but it seems like Doom is an off-tank style hero, and Kellan may be on the Rhine, which will be rough with Myunbong Lucio. Sorry, NYXL fans, I'm giving this one to the Glads in a 3-0 sweep. Next up, we have the Paris Eternal facing off against the San Francisco Shock. This could be closer than people give it credit for. Paris are going to try to get some momentum going against the Shock, and I could definitely see Glister popping off hard against his old team. He's crazy good, and the rest of the team off ping should give them quite a boost. But can they beat the Shock? I'm gonna say no. I'm going to be generous and say it'll be closer than the scoreline implies, but I just don't see any way Paris can beat the Shock with a huge underperformance. Proper has been performing in scrims as one of the best Genjis in the league. Proper can probably match Kilo on all the hard hit scans. Kaluch is straight up better than Vestola in my opinion. Finn is better than Khan, and while Violet's getting diffed by Dridro on the Lucio, I think if the team diff is as immense as it is here, it won't matter that much. I give it to the Shock 3-1, with Proper having explosive plays and carrying the team, though Glister will make them work for it, managing to help steal them after them, and the whole of Paris leveling up due to the ping decrease will give them some momentum. Next up is Florida versus Atlanta. This is an interesting one in that I think Atlanta will do a bit worse in this tourney than people think. Nero has never really played the Genji, so I think it'll be tough for him to necessarily come out and be a hard carry on that hero. However, I don't think Checkmate is especially good on the hero either, or in general, but maybe they can surprise us. But Atlanta is simply much better than them on every role. UV and OG are 2 tiers above height, or even Anima in my opinion. Hawk is insane and seemingly better than someone. Kai is much better than Hydron. I'll have to give it to the Rain 3-0. Next up, the San Francisco Shock versus the London Spitfire. The two had a banger of a series last game, taking it to 5 maps. Can the London Spitfire... Nah, this is a 3-0 for the Shock. Next up is the Vancouver versus Boston matchup. People are hyping this up to be a close match, but I think it'll just be a quick sweep for Boston. We're in a Genji meta, guys. Valentine is on Boston, and he was one of the best Genjis in the league last year. I would also say Striker is better on the hit scan heroes than Shockwave, potentially. I think Punk is better than False. And they have the flexibility onto main tanks if they want to pull out the Rhine comp. But it's really Striker Valentine versus Shockwave and probably Psycho lineup that does it for me. 3-0 Boston. Next up, Houston Outlaws versus Dallas Fuel. I don't know. I want to say this is a wash, but I don't think Houston made this match a LAN event just to get 3-0'd. But this meta is just so perfect for Dallas. You've Hanbin on the Doom and Sparkle on the Genji on one side. Like, you get Sparkle on Genji and it's already over for most of, if not all teams. Or you get Fearless on the Rhine. Hell, you could even wind up with Hanbin on the Zarya and Doha on the Sombra. Like, pick your poison at that point. But I'm going to give Houston a pity map. The crowd could definitely help them level up, and Pelican is definitely on Sparkle's level in my opinion. If they can force the meta into something that favors them, they could make it close. But there really isn't any meta I favor them on over Dallas right now. I say Dallas take it in a decisive 3-1 victory. Next up, Washington versus Defiant. This is an interesting game. While I think Toronto should take it over them until Corellan is out of the starting lineup, I might actually favor Washington here despite the massive support difference. I think Happy on the Soldier and Decay or Assassin on the Genji is a nasty lineup. It hard gaps Toronto, who are going to be without Aldo for this series. I also prefer Washington's tanks, but there is just such a massive support gap that it's going to be close. I gave it to Washington in a 3-2 thriller. Next is the New York Excelsior versus Atlanta Reign. This will be closer than people give it credit for, as it is a matchup where Yaki can gap the enemy DPS on the Genji, but that's about all they have over them, and I don't think Yaki can hard carry the team as well on the Genji as he can on his Tracer. I'll give York a map here. Maybe they could turn the tides due to the Genji gap in one map. And Yaki is just going insane. But when New York is just having so many issues behind the scenes, and Atlanta gapping them in every position, it's just hard for me to have faith in New York to do anything meaningful. I'll give this to Atlanta in a decisive 3-1 victory. Next is the Uprising versus Gladiators. I think this could actually be close. Again, Boston and a Genji meta should not be underrated. They look to be scary, and they have other fantastic pieces as well. There is some up potential, but I gotta go with the Glads 3-0. I've been giving out too many pity maps. While they'll work for it, I just think Glads are better in every position, and Kevster has the chops to shut down Valentine even on the Genji. But Valentine and Striker will have a field day, and I think they'll be able to put up a good fight. Next up is the Vancouver Titans versus London Spitfire. These guys are pretty close. Apparently False has not been performing so hot in scrims, and that could be a detriment, but I do have more faith in Vancouver's roster to perform. Individually, I think Shockwave is better than Sparker on the Soldier, and I have a lot more faith in their backline, especially since London had to switch up at the last minute. Backbone is better than Psycho, and Poco is seemingly better than False, but I'm going to give it to Vancouver 3-2, mainly to the organizational issues in London. There is definitely egg on face potential here, but Vancouver get their revenge. Next up is Florida versus Paris, and I think on paper this is an interesting match. Hydron versus Glister, Someone versus Dawn, Kareem versus Khan and the Honest should be good, but I'm feeling a 3-2 win for Florida here. I think Florida is a very hungry team, and that makes them dangerous. While the talent is about the same, hell, maybe even slightly favoring Paris, I think Hydron and Someone are going to cash in all of their scrim bucks and pound all game, and Paris will have a tough time staying on their feet. Next up is Dallas Fuel versus Washington Justice. While I don't have an upset here, it could be close. Dallas have a decisive diff on pretty much every role, especially the supports. But I could see Decay leveling up against his old team, maybe stealing a map, maybe even two, and Happy and Mag are definitely there to aid him in that process. Though Doha does have a pretty nasty soldier in his pocket, and Fearless is Fearless. But this is just a team diff no matter how hard Decay carries. I know I said I'd stop doing this, but I could see Washington taking a map, so I'll give it to Dallas 3-1. It's definitely a randomness to Overwatch 2 that makes me more confident in these random maps. And I feel like Decay could just show up me the best player in the lobby, but don't bet against Dallas in a Genji meta. Finally, in the last match of the week, we have Toronto taking on Houston. Again, a very interesting match. Can Piggy measure up to the tank diversity of Hotba and Muse? I think it's close if Hotba has to play Doom the whole time, but in terms of flexibility, it's a wash. Iris and Lasso to Twilight and Shorung, absolute wash. Twilight is better than both of them, and neither can play Lucio. But there is just such a massive DPS stiff. Dante and Pelican are both top tier, and Marin can honestly match Houston. I'm going to give this to Houston 3-2, just based on that. Plus, Muse in the roster, I don't think will do that much. If Doom is really being played by off-tanks, the only main tank that is even slightly meta is Rhine, which Muse is horrible at. And so, there you go. That's my preds for the week. It'll be interesting to see which metas are currently prevalent. If it's a hard Genji Doom meta, or if Rhine will be much more important, but I'm confident in my picks either way. Any disagree with? Let me know. Thanks for watching, and remember to hit like and subscribe for more. I upload nearly daily Overwatch League content, and I'm trying to hit 1,000 subs by the end of Season 5, so any subscription helps greatly. Thanks.